Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at, ladies and gents. I am Kura Isagami, your resident tinkerer and Medarotter, and this is the Medarot News Network, bringing you all the latest developments and happenings with our favorite pet-fighting robot series. Now this week, as the festivities and the anticipation leading up to Medarot Day draws ever nearer, we see just a little bit more added just to amp up, and just at a relatively consistent pace, so that we're not overrun with everything that they likely have in store to announce leading up to the special and momentous day itself. But this week in particular, even with the addition of the other stuff from last week, such as the special 25-round gauntlet, and oh boy was that a challenge, we do see the introduction of yet another model in Horama Rin's 7 Lucky Gods series. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into what was announced for this week, as well as some other highlights, including a very special announcement by me personally that I'll be making note of much later in the video. Starting up with the gacha banners for this week, we are starting with SFJ02 Fukoro Kuraofu. I do hope I do pronounce that correctly, with the kit of Rebirth, Slash, Blow Away, Flight Legs, and the Climber leg ability. Now, with the introduction of him, as well as being part of the 7 Lucky Gods series by Horama Rin, we are also seeing reruns of the other two first models, starting with SFJ0 Benten Sada, with the kit of Force Control, Static, Microwave, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Primacy. And then shortly after she was released, we also saw the introduction of SFJ01 Juro Nanchi, with the kit of Revive, Suction, Long Shot, Multi-Legs, and the Desert-type leg ability. So honestly, just between these three bots alone, like I mentioned, we aren't seeing a whole lot of new banners per se, but definitely something that would be considered skippable to a point if you feel that you don't really see the need to collect any of these models, and maybe want to save your resources closer to Medarot Day for an even bigger launch. But despite that, even with the three models we have here, they are still very solid bots all around, with a lot of very dangerous or very useful parts, depending on how you choose to use them. That being said, in particular, it is also worth noting that we are getting a second paid anniversary banner that goes live this week, with a completely different cast of bots being highlighted in it. If it's the same as the original, it removes all highlighted. It removes all 2-star parts and 1-star parts and sets, making it so that you're guaranteed to get something good out of it no matter what you pull. With the Fierce Battles we have this week, it's going to be relatively lower key, unlike last week where it was all primarily linked to a theme. With this week, we see the rerun of APL-01 Top Gunner, with the kit of Radar Sight, Double Missile, Flight Legs, and the leg ability of Aim. Behind her, we have CCD-0 Semi-Cicade, with the kit of Melee Trap, Double Break, Flight Legs, and the Nest leg ability. And then behind them, and last but not least, MDZ-0 Meduzard, with a kit of Freeze, Sword, Counter Guard, Multi-Legs, and the P-Loader leg ability. Now, much like the gacha banners, the Fierce Battles this week are also very widely varied in the terms of skills and kits that they offer, and there can be a lot of very good kits and parts abound just within these free farmable parts you can collect. That being said, I would honestly have to give the MVP of the week to two models this time around, between Semi-Cicade and Meduzard, primarily for the fact that Heavy Punish is always good in any team no matter where you use it, and Meduzard has a very wide array of skills that can be very useful on any team, especially when females only are involved, or if any team that does need a conventional melee part for a female-based team. Top Gunner is also good to have as well for missile or even flight-based legs, but compared to Semi-Cicade or Meduzard, I would definitely put her on the lower priority list, in my personal opinion. Now, with the events going on this week, we do actually have a rerun of the Marathon Survival event. So the way these rules are very simple. Whenever you go into a round, if you come out victorious, the 12 parts you use between those three bots are added to a banned list, and that banned list will continue to grow until you reach a checkpoint, at which it will reset so you can use all of those parts again. Now, these events are designed primarily mostly just as a check to see how flexible you are with various team builds of parts you may or may not use super often, as well as a check to see how well you've been paying attention to raising other parts outside of what you may normally use. So this event can be very fun, but definitely much more difficult the higher up you go. So this new one in particular will be geared more towards vets that have been playing for a while and have a pretty wide array of fully capped parts already at disposal. But for new players and rookies that have joined recently, you still have plenty of the older levels and earlier levels farther down in the list that you can participate in that you could honestly breeze through very easily for a lot of rewards to be had through it. Now we also are seeing a return of the daily missions challenge that will be going live with the 7 lucky gods in particular. With these are really nothing more than just extra challenges you can choose to participate in, aside from your usual daily, such as PvP or any of your other or anything else that you do through your routine. Then these challenges in particular give you access to earn more ruby shards and even some permanent pool gacha tickets that you can use for some more pulls. Whether you save those or whether you use them, it is entirely up to you, and these missions also are entirely optional. If you decide to skip them, that's completely your choice, but the option is there through this coming week for you to earn some extra resources towards extra rubies, especially if you find yourself in need of them. Now, with the anniversary challenge itself that was announced last week, not a lot of details were announced last week at day of, but this week, as well through this last week with it being launched, it was a rather interesting surprise to see just what challenge it was this time around for the event. And they chose to make the 25th anniversary challenge a 25-round Super Invasion Gauntlet, which means in comparison to earlier ones, which are only 3 rounds, this one is 25 of them, each with their own separate rules. Now, compared to most other challenges, these are actually remotely easier, so much more so easier, than most other EX trials that we've seen up to date. So even early rookies could take some of these on pretty feasibly once they can get some teams put together for it. Now, in terms of what those modifiers are, if you do check in the list in the comments below for the list of Google Docs, I have updated the Super Invasion EX trial list with the modifiers for the Anniversary Gauntlet, so you don't need to worry about translating what those are. I've already done the hard work for you. So pretty much as I put them in there, build your teams, clench up, clench your butt cheeks, and get ready for a really wild ride through Medarot's greatest fights over its 25 years of history. Now on the community front, as always, we are still continually looking for translators and assistants with the Medarot 3 and the Medarot Reloaded translation projects. So if you find yourself with knowledge of coding or cleaning or Japanese with some time on your hands, we are more than appreciative of any efforts that you'd be willing to provide to help see these projects to completion, because we would love to work on other projects such as Navi, Medarots 4 and 5, and so on, or even maybe consider one of the newer titles after a while. But we can't do that without help or people. So if you'd love to lend a hand, or even if you know someone who could lend a hand, feel free to send them our way, join our Discord, or reach out to me, and we can get you in touch with the right people that can fill you in on everything that needs done. Now, with this week's art highlight, I chose to kind of do something a little differently this time, but only because I have a very big announcement to make. These that you see here are screenshots from the very final stress test that I have been holding and conducting for a VR chat world update I have been working on. This is the ultimate and pinnacle culmination of a 5-year endeavor that I've been working on with a close group of friends of mine called Project VR Medarot. And this, simply put, is a project where we strove to bring the models from say Medarot 9, GM, Duel, Girls Mission, and S, and so on, and rig them up as avatar-friendly models ready to go to help spread awareness and exposure of Medarot to people of the VR realm, and help kind of bring the community closer together through a social platform. Now, this particular update will be a truly, truly massive one. In particular, this update will be sporting over 500 different working models ready to go, fully rigged with VR and full body tracking in mind, personalized mat cap and masks, fizz bones or dynamic bones wherever applicable. You name it, these models have gone up and beyond, and the world itself has had a massive facelift from the current iteration that is already and as well still currently on VR chat as a public instance. This new update will be going live on 11/14, so a week from yesterday, 6 days from now, that update will be going live to be made public. With that as well, I will be hosting a public instance of the world on release day. I'm shooting next week on that Monday between, say, 1 and 2 in the afternoon, where you can meet with me and hang out or take a look at the world. I'd love to get to meet every one of you and get to talk, talk about Medarot, what the game's been doing at, even just to hang out and say hello. Would love to have you there with me on launch day once this does go live to celebrate a 5-year endeavor of this project finally reaching a completion point. But with that aside, I do believe that covers everything for this week's episode, so I do appreciate you all for stopping by once again, just as you always do. If you'd like to know more, you can follow us below on Facebook at the Medarot News Network page, or the Metabots Forever community on there. You can also reach out to us on Discord in the link provided and in the comments below, and this will allow you to keep an even closer ear to the ground on the action. This includes any new merchandise, new games, new updates, or anything else related to the game. That, more often than not, will be the first place you hear it before anywhere else. You can also reach out to me personally on Twitter at IsaGamiKura. If you have any questions or feedback or comments or suggestions, I am more than open to them. My DMs are open for this very reason, so don't be a stranger and feel free to stop in and say hello. Do also give these wonderful friends of mine a follow as well on Twitter user Frisk Speed, or also known as Proto Mighty, who just recently I highlighted for a new project they've been working on of implementing Rokusho into Rivals of Aether as a modded character, and currently is working on some other projects around that. I have seen the progress shots and the sprite work, and it honestly looks fantastic. So definitely follow him if you'd like to keep up to date on that, or keep closer to the ear on when that project will be released. Do also give a relatively newer friend of mine here as well, Twitter user Miko Zeta, another VTuber who focuses every once in a while on Medarot content, who also been doing a lot of Blender streams, making one of their designs for the Ori Meta contest from 2D into 3D. And Miko, if you are watching this, fantastic work once again on your model. I'm very proud to see how far that's come, and I'm looking forward to seeing more updates about your stuff going forward. But all that being said, I do appreciate you all for stopping by once again, just as you always have. Thanks again, and until next time, this is your host, Kura Isagami of the Medarot News Network, signing out.